The Honourable Kyle McGinn.
Thank you, Acting President. And it's good to get up and respond to some of the outrageous comments that have been made by the opposition today. The most outrageous, I think, by far has come from the Leader of the Opposition in this place, around stating that people that work in the mining industry are from Metro Western Australia. It must shock the member to know. It must shock the member to know that we have residential workforces out in Kalgoorlie, for example. And it's a bit of a slight to say, that it doesn't matter about them voters because they're from Metro Perth. And when we do have some of the biggest representation in regional W, I will check their Hansard, the Leader of the Opposition, but that's how it pervaded across this chamber, was that you were trying to stipulate that we don't have regional workforces that work in the mining industry. And I can tell you right now, we do. Absolutely we do. And then I turn to the Honourable Martin Aldridge, who uses his time to study ministers by going on Facebook. Unbelievable. To go on Facebook to find out who a minister is. That is absolute rubbish. You don't know who the minister is, because the Minister, Don Punch, has been out in the regions doing a fantastic job for regional development. And how about you use Google instead of Facebook? But, you know, it wouldn't check that. Or would you check who you ask your questions to? Well, hang on. Have you asked a question about regional development in this chamber? Have you asked a question about regional development? Have you even asked for a briefing from the Minister for Fisheries on the marine park? I find it fascinating that you come into this place, the Honourable Colin de Grusa comes into this place and makes up rhetoric, like he's been told from Tory, makes up all this rhetoric and never even asks for a briefing. Doesn't even ask for a briefing. You know, you would think that the member who says that he's representing regional WA would have the smarts to ask for a briefing to see what the government is doing. But instead the member makes up rubbish and talks about it like it's knowledge. And that's what the National Party does here, members. Let's be very clear. They make up rubbish to make you believe it. They don't ask for truth. They don't go in there and ask for briefings. They don't go and ask for the actual truth on what's happening. Instead, they make up their own narrative because that suits them out there in the regions. You know, and the Honourable Jackie Jarvis was absolutely a nail on the head in respect of talking about it's better for them to be out there whinging about an issue than accepting the funding that's coming from the federal government. That's the sort of rubbish that we're used to here in this chamber. But, you know, I thought maybe on this Thursday we would see an elevation in the opposition. However, that did not happen. So I'm very disappointed with that. But let's talk about what the Honourable Colin de Grusa raised in the fishing space. I find it fascinating that he has the gall to stand in this chamber and talk about the demersal fishing industry. Because when they were in government, they did absolutely nothing to the sustainability of our fishing industry. Not a thing. Not a thing. You promised that you would. But the Honourable Colin de Grusa, you do what you always do. Talk, no walk. All talk, no walk. Absolutely, that's what the opposition does, and that's what they did with fisheries, and that's what they'll continue to do. Luckily, we have a great minister in the Honourable Don Punch who's willing to go out there and create a sustainable fishing industry. Unlike the previous Liberal National Government that sat on their hands, whinged about the issue, but did not have the gall to go out there and do anything about it. If they had their way, we may end up like South Australia. We may end up like South Australia, where they had to ban demersal fishing full stop. Because, you know, if you sit on your hands for too long, the Honourable Colin de Grusa, nothing happens except the fishing industry goes to, I won't say that word, but that's exactly where it's heading if you sit on your hands and do nothing. If you sit on your hands and do nothing. But the minister, the Honourable Don Punch, and I'll say that all day so that the Honourable Martin Aldridge can get it in his head, because there hasn't been a question from the Honourable Martin Aldridge about regional development. How would he know who the minister is? Because he never questions the minister. He doesn't say anything. He gets up and says a bit of rhetoric about going on Facebook. How about you come into the chamber and engage with the minister? It would be interesting. It would be interesting if that was the case. It would be interesting. And then the minister, and then members, believe it or not, members, we heard from the Honourable Colin de Grusa about the rock lobster industry. The rock lobster industry. Well, let's talk fact that who was it that is looking after the lobster industry after we've seen what happened with the exporting of China? You know, let's have a talk to the crayfishing industry now around how the government has worked with them through COVID and through the challenges that have happened on consultation. I love hearing this word consultation from the opposition. I've just gone through in my speech there and spoke about the lack of them consulting with the government on briefings that they're entitled to get. It is absolutely astounding that they come in here and talk about consultation. You know, you have a look at the process. You have a look at the process that went through with the Buccaneer Archipelago Marine Park. Do any of the members have a look at that process and how consultation took part? Because I can tell you there was plenty of consultation. And there was absolutely consultation in that space. And the consultation in the marine park down south at the moment is still ongoing. This is why I find it hilarious that the Honourable Colin de Grussa talks about what are we going to do about this, what are we going to do about that. The fisheries aren't going to engage like we engage with BAMPs, and we're going to look at a recovery package in that space. That's exactly what we did with the Buccaneer Archipelago. But it doesn't suit the narrative of the National Party. It doesn't suit the narrative. Because if the government's doing well in regional WA, that's not good for the National Party. They care more about their vote than they care about regional WA. And that, my friends, is a sad, sad thing. That is a sad, sad thing for them to bring into this chamber and constantly run down the regions. That is exactly what you do. You run it down and you run it down. You got your opposition leader. The opposition leader is talking about the mining industry not having any locals in it in regional WA. That is absolute rubbish. That's just running down the regions, the Honourable Colin de Grussa. You know, the powerhouse that is regional WA getting run down by the National Party. I know the Honourable Peter Collier doesn't like me raising my voice, but I'm being interjected on, so I have to. I apologise for that, the Honourable Peter Collier. So, look, anyway, won't be supporting this motion. Typical from the National Party. All talk, no walk.